Hello. Actually, my presentation could be a bit boring when compared to the others because I will speak a lot more about data. Actually, the outline of presentation will be in two parts. About the research, these are the 150 outpatient patients of our hospital, 73 male, the other 70 female, whereas 7 responded as other. The mean age 31. The number of the naive patients not receiving any psychological treatment, 38, and 112 those who has been treated at least once before. This is the depression subscale, and it is in the form of 3 records with 8 questions for each scale. For internal coherence, again, consistency, Cronbach alpha coefficient 0.85. And anxiety depression scale and moods of RITA depression scale correlations 0.66. 3 points as the cutting point, 3 points for the scale. Area under curve 0.90 and sensitivity 0.75, specificity 0.71. For sleep disorder subscale and 9 questions. And also 3 Likert scale. And for internal consistency, Cronbach alpha 0.77, Pittsburgh sleep scale, and our scale is 0.69. For anxiety subscale, 5-question scale, and Cronbach alpha coefficient 0.82. For hospital anxiety depression scale and mood soft RITA anxiety scale, correlation found 0.71. 2 points, the cutting point for anxiety scale of RITA, 0.9 as the cutting point, and AUC 0.69, sensitivity 0.75, specificity 0.40. Psychological resilience subscale, 5-question scale, short psychological resilience scale and mood soft RITA psychological resilience scale, correlation found 0.60. In descriptive factor analysis, self-value more than one single factor identified and representing 69.33 of the total variance. For internal consistency, 0.85 for the entire scale. And when the short psychological resilience scale is considered, for our RITA scale, cutting point 1.1, area under curve 0.77, sensitivity 0.78, specificity 0.56. Psychosis subscale, 4-question form, and whether tested for 5 patients to understand whether the questions are again understandable. Psychic experience assessment scale and mood soft RITA psychosis scale, the correlation found 0.66. And for the descriptive factor analysis, more than one self-value, one factor identified and representing 67.15 of total variance and 0.83 as the internal consistency. Eating disorder subscale, 6-question scale. RISI, eating disorders, and mood soft RITA eating disorders scale, the correlation in between found 0.68. Whole scale internal consistency Cronbach alpha coefficient 0.78. RISI eating disorder scale when taken as the basis, the cutting point 0.7 for mood-soft RITA eating disorder scale. AUC found 0.87, sensitivity 0.80, specificity 0.83. In the second research, this time 280 included in the study, and 145 females, 135 males, mean age 45.89. Obsession subscale as the 3-point Likert scale used. These are the questions that can represent the subscale. The internal consistency Cronbach alpha coefficient 0.89. In descriptive factor analysis, more than a single factor over one self-value, and representing 79.11% of total variance. And the correlation in between the two scales found 0.95. A CL90 obsession subscale when considered for the RITA obsession scale at 2-point cutting point. AUC found 0.94, sensitivity 0.88, and specificity 0.84. For attention deficit hyperactivity disorder subscale, 6 questions. SRS and mood-soft RITA scale in between these two correlation found 0.86. For descriptive factor analysis, 2 factors over 1 self-value obtained, representing 48.098. And Cronbach alpha coefficient for the internal consistency of the entire scale, 0.74. And for mood-soft RITA scale, 1.2 cutting point, and on the basis of ACRS, you can see AUC is 79 and sensitivity and specificity as shown. In personality subscale, neurotic extrovertness, open to experience, adaptability, and self-control. 2 questions for each. And in correlation of both, it is for neurotechnic 0.95, for extrovertness 0.95, open to experience 0.97, for adaptability 0.96, and for self-control 0.94. In descriptive factor analysis, 4 factors obtained, representing 43.05 of the total variance. The internal consistency of the entire scale for Cronbach alpha coefficient 0.96. Now, risk detection and RITA, I would like to say a couple of things about this. First of all, the screens for the risk of mental problems and their severity. The clinician, the patient, or the client. So it's not to miss or skip any mental issue. It is a tool that assesses for this purpose. It is actually a risk screening tool and provides us clear information about putting diagnosis. There is actually a threshold point identified for each mental condition and identifies the probability and the most common mental disorders selected. You know, I mentioned about the data at the beginning of my talk. That is the table format of what I mentioned. Thank you for your attention.